going to Kathy Slayton. Kathy, you're up with DALIA.
Hey, Dalia, thanks so much for your time today. So was there a certain point earlier in your studies, your university time, or early in your career where maybe you had just like an aha moment that you were like, this is definitely what I'm really great at? Because I think what young people struggle with is they don't have that aha moment. Maybe early on in their career, or maybe, in university, and they kind of get into their workplace and they kind of flounder around. And so was there a certain point in time where you kind of nailed it early on, or
Yeah.
did this, what was it like for you? If you could just kind of just summarize it quickly.
So I'll just share with you, another little anecdote. 6 months into the role, our shares were crashing at 18-year-olds. In Israel, 18-year-olds go to the army. So I decided to come up with this gift, which was a wash bag that you get in the army. And I persuaded the army that, to do that. But I wanted to write a personal note. And I sat down and I wrote a note as an ex-platoon commander. You're now on the bus. You said goodbye to your friends and family. But also talking about hygiene and why we created that kit, but also talked about the pride you should feel serving as equal. And I remember I wrote it, and flow, right? When you lose track of time, I fell asleep in the office. Jim came 6 a.m. in the morning the next day, that same Jim, and he saw me literally sleeping in the office. Like, what are you doing here? I'm like, oh, I wrote an example for the agencies. Like, can I read it? And he read it, and he teared up, and he told me, you're not changing the letter. I want you to sign your real name in this letter. We're going to ship it as is. And the campaign started. We started the army sampling. 2 days later, our consumer helpline was inundated by calls from soldiers and their moms thanking us for being there for such an important moment in their life. And I think that was my first moment where I realized, I can make a difference. I can touch and improve people's life. And that was my driving force throughout my career. That was the first that led me throughout the P&G career. And then I'll tell you another pivotal moment where I started teaching the science of happiness in the university in Singapore, right? So after the traumatic experience, I studied with Tal Ben Shachar. I decided to take 2 years to study. And then that led me to a job offer from the university. And it was very exciting, 23 years old. Singapore is not a place where happiness is, they're very achievement driven. So I created, I went back to Tal and he's like, wow, this is amazing, make it your own. So I took everything I've learned, okay? Everything from Tal, everything from P&G. In P&G, I was a training junkie. I led people supporting people, and from manager to leader training. So I brought it all together into this course. And the first workshop was this Find Your Why workshop. And as I mentioned, right, I go really deep into their heritage, and there was a lot of tears, and for Singaporeans, tears is a big deal. And at the end, this 23-year-old stands up and he says to me, he said, Prof, I love when they say Prof, they're very hierarchical. He's like, Prof, I just wanted to say huge thank you. I now know what my purpose is, but I know I need to be a corporate slave for a few years, and then I'll do what I love. Right? I see your face, April. That was my reaction. My hair stood up. I'm like, this is wrong. This shouldn't be the way. And that was my pivot moment to decide that I'm going to leave the CMO roles and, focus on my purpose, which is helping employees find purpose and joy in the workplace. So, but I think it's really, to hone down on your question, it's really, my bosses that helped me. It was me seeing the impact. And then I realized I have a sense for people insights. I have a sense, my success came when I was able to listen beyond the words, to connect people, right? And then my bosses helped me hone the language. It's about people and creativity. Those were my strengths. And in the last 3 years with the boss, those strengths were not only not appreciated, as I said, they were mocked. And that's when you literally die, you cannot operate. So that's when I realized I always knew about strength-based leadership in theory, but I experienced it myself. When you're not able to bring your full self to work, you're 10% of who you are. So I hope I answered that.
You did. Thank you.
Amazing.